Hello, everybody, once again, and welcome to the Ken Bone Zone, episode number 33. That is a milestone because it is the third multiple of 11. I'm here alongside my co-host, Josh Burkett. How you doing this week, buddy?
Not too bad. How about you?
Well, that's what I like to hear. I am actually super pissed off today. So I took a half day off from work to take my wife, Heather, to the dentist because the dentist told us on Tuesday that two of her wisdom teeth need to come out. And she said, "Yeah, I know, but there's nothing wrong with them." And he's like, "Well, I'm scared they'll get infected. We need to take them out." So she says, "Okay, well, we'll come back." So we come back today, take another half day off of work to go back to the dentist, take her in, wisdom teeth not hurting her or anything. He goes to try to take them out, and he breaks one of them, and then he can't get it out. And he's like,
Oh,
"Oh,"
wow.
he goes, let's take another X-ray here." And he takes the X-ray. He's like, "Oh, well, I definitely am not going to be able to get that out." I'm like, "Well, why didn't you take the X-ray in the first place then, you idiot? It would have
Yeah.
told you not to try before you broke it in half." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you'll need to go to an oral surgeon." So
Jeez.
by the time we get home, her numbness is worn off, and even though she's taken the pain medication they gave her, she's sitting on the bed crying because it hurts so bad. And this is a woman who came from the dairy farm. She could literally lift a hay bale in each arm and throw them up about 8 feet high. And she's crying from the pain because she has a broken in half tooth. So we go and get her some stronger pain medication, and it still hurts. She's still pretty debilitated. And I call the oral surgeon. They say, "Oh, we can get her in August."
Jeez.
No, that ain't gonna work. So
Yeah.
I called the dentist and kind of freaked out on them. I was like, "Look, there wasn't anything wrong with her until you had her come in for this elective tooth removal because you were afraid they might get messed up someday, and then you broke one of them, and now she's in debilitating, terrible pain. Um, so what are you gonna do about this?" And they said, "Well, we'll call all the oral surgeons for you, try to get you in sooner, do the best we can." Okay, so. Yeah, there is an excellent chance that I go and visit that dentist tomorrow and just make a giant scene in the lobby.
Sh-
Uh,
Sure.
and like my life's not as interesting as you think it is, listeners. I will just sit outside this dentist's office and picket. I'll wear the damn sweater just so maybe people will recognize me. Unfair to my wife's teeth. Just walk back and forth in front of the joint. When I called the one oral surgeon that said they couldn't get her until August, she was like, "What dentist is it that's referring you? What office is it?" And I said, "It's, dentist name." And she goes, "Oh." So what do you mean? Oh,
Like, oh.
that reaction tells me I shouldn't be going to that dentist. Is there something you want to tell me? And she's like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about that."
that,
Oh,
that,
oh,
that loud
jeez.
and clear.
Yeah, that's all I needed to know, lady. Thanks. I'm scheduled to get 2 crowns done by this same dentist next week. Now, there's nothing wrong with my crowns either. He just says one of my crowns is loose, and one of the fillings, he's like, "Well, that's a pretty big filling. We probably should replace it with a crown because it's starting to crack, and it might cause you some trouble down the road." I'm like, I don't know now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
need any of my teeth broken half.
I'd be finding a new dentist.
I'm not as civilized as my wife. If you break one of my teeth and that's not what you're supposed to be doing, I might break one of your teeth.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's fair.
it's go. I'm from Granite City, baby. It's mean streets. All the dentists do there is like punch you in the mouth until you don't have any teeth anymore.
Yeah.
Meth is
Yeah.
my dentist, as they say back in our hometown.
It's cheaper though.
Yeah, the diet just consists largely of
which is sad.
Granite City diet just largely consists of mashed potatoes and cream corn as you get older, after the meth has stolen all your teeth. Anyway, so that's the news in my house. Let's see if the news around the rest of the
Man,
world is any better.
that sucks.
I bet it's not. Let's see. I guess the biggest item this week is North Korea. Boy, Trump went to North Korea and actually got Kim Jong Un to talk, which is great. But Trump says we got a deal with North Korea, and I'm reading the deal. I'm like, this isn't a deal. It's just like a signed promise that says like, "Oh, we promise we'll work to denuclearize." Okay, what does that mean, and
Okay.
what
Right.
steps do we get to take to verify that you're actually doing it, and what kind of timetable are we working on? None of that stuff. So it's just a very basic framework of we promise we'll get rid of our nukes. Well, I don't think they're going to do that. I would be amazed if they get rid of their nukes. It's the only thing they got to bring any other country to the negotiating table. The whole Western world has been bribing North Korea for decades. Like, hey, be good and don't develop nuclear weapons. Or after they did develop them, it's like, hey, be good and don't lob these at South Korea, and we'll give you some money. Well, they're not going to get rid of them. That's like all they got.
Fair point. I actually never thought of it that way. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know what other leverage they have. Now, there are some commentators saying that Trump he's trying to do like what Nixon did to China. He's trying to normalize relations with them and maybe open them up a little bit, get a McDonald's in there and show the North Korean people that, hey, being in a communist dictatorship sucks big dongle. Maybe we should soften politically. But I don't know if that is what he's doing.
And the best way out clearly is to get a McDonald's. And is the statistic that I've heard all my life, I wonder, is it still true that no two countries that both have McDonald's have ever gone to war against each other?
I don't know.
I don't know, but
I'd have to look that up.
Yeah.
We can break that streak though.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely McDonald's in Russia. I know that for sure. Were there McDonald's
in sense?
Yeah. But were there McDonald's in Ukraine when they went and just took over half the joint?
Oh yeah, I think they might. Yeah.
And was that technically a war? I don't know. I guess those would be the two big questions.
That's fair.
So when Russia just went in and swiped Crimea away from the Ukrainian government, yeah, that's essentially what it was. They went and they were just like, nah, it's ours now. What are you going to do about it? You're Ukraine. And the whole rest of the world was like, wow, sucks to be you, Ukraine. Well, we're going to condemn this in the strongest possible language. Tisk, tisk. Shame on you, Russia. While Russia's rolling in with tanks painted in Crimean colors, putting Russian soldiers in Crimean uniforms, just standing around smoking, like, oh, no, comrade, we are not Russians, we are Ukrainian. Various Ukrainian pop culture reference. I don't know what to... They weren't fooling anybody, but we all still kind of watched me like, holy shit, I guess there ain't too much we can do about that.
Yeah.
Maybe the UN can do something against Russia, and they just veto it because they're on the Security Council.
I was going to say, I was like, there's a UN joke here somewhere.
Yeah. The UN is stupid and useless. Yeah, I wish that was a joke. But yeah, as far as North Korea denuclearizing or behaving better, I'll believe it when I see it. They've promised to denuclearize many times before, and they've promised to soften many times before, and we'll see. One thing I do wish would stop happening in this whole ordeal is I wish Trump would quit saluting North Korean generals and telling Kim Jong-un that he's a really talented, really great guy. He's not a really great guy. He's a freaking monster who has 200,000 people in gulags and 10 or 20 million, I forget the population of North Korea. It's well into the millions. People just basically in slavery. The state pretty much owns them. These are people that, if the South Korean intelligence is to be believed, during the Great Famine in the 80s, rather than rebel against the Kim family, they were just eating children.
Jeez.
They were cannibalizing because there's no food, so they're just eating kids. Yeah, these are badly oppressed people. North Korea might be the worst place to live on planet Earth. I don't know. They're probably neck and neck with Haiti or someplace that suffered an awful disaster and was too poor to fix the joint afterwards.
Right.
But yeah, I know it's kind of Trump's thing to kiss your ass a little bit and tell you how great you are as a negotiating tactic, but it's not very diplomatic when you're telling that to a dictator with all kinds of human rights violations.
Right, because you're gonna please one dictator and piss off a lot of other world leaders. So.
Yeah, I'm scared it really emboldens a lot of other dictators, especially when he's going to the G7 summit and basically telling Justin Trudeau and Angela Merkel to go screw themselves. Hey, go sit on a hot poker and Then he's telling Kim Jong Un like, "Oh, you're a great guy. You're really talented. I'm amazed how well you run your piece of shit country.
Yeah. You've got the best. You've got the best leadership skills.
Your country is
I mean, he didn't say.
your country is the best shithole. I love to call countries shitholes, but your country is the best shithole."
If I had to pick a shithole to live in,
Oh,
I need to work on my
Lord.
Trump voice. You got it down.
I don't know. He makes it easy. I've heard better. Definitely. But yeah, we're not going to try to talk. I don't want to talk too much Trump. We got more Trump to come later in the show. Some big picture Trump. So we'll get away from that for now. Got a few topics we want to hit between now and then. The World Cup is going on in soccer. If you care about that,
No.
yeah, I care a little bit when the U.S. is involved. And when we knew a whole year ago that the U.S. didn't even qualify, I'm like, I don't know, hell with it.
Yeah, I don't care.
Especially when like the U.S. women are really, really good, and the Women's World Cup is on off years. Like it's kind of like the Winter Olympics. It's on the opposite schedule. So it was 2 years ago, and it's not going to happen again for 2 years. So I find it really hard to care about soccer. Any sport that can end in a 0-0 tie and the fans say that it was exciting. Hey, I'm glad you have fun watching it, but I don't friggin' get it.
I think it's just mass country extrovertism, if that's a word, and alcohol. That's what makes it ultimately interesting when you have big, strong nationality kind of thing and a lot of alcohol, and then maybe some brawling afterwards.
Yeah.
So if you're into that, okay, sure. But to me, it's the NASCAR of the world. It's like you don't get it unless you do, and if you do get it, then you're drunk.
Yeah, I mean,
So
if you're into it, one of my buddies, Ryan, he's like really, really into it. He was a high-level soccer player all the way through college, and he just loves it, and he's trying to explain the intricacies of the game, and I'm just like, why the hell doesn't that guy just knock that other guy down? He's like, well, he can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, this sport sucks.
yeah.
I watch ice hockey where if you try to just run past me with the puck, I'm going to punch you in the mouth, you know?
Right. Yeah, and people say I don't understand hockey. Like, what don't you understand about it?
Hockey,
I get baseball. People are like, I don't see how you can sit and watch a baseball game, and I can do that, and I understand when people say that, but hockey, I don't understand.
yeah, hockey, like there are some rules that are difficult to understand, and, you know, any hockey fan would be glad to explain them to you. But the overall thing is just you want to shoot this thing into the net, and you got to use your stick. And, oh, by the way, if you have the thing in your possession, it's okay for other people to just crush you as hard as they can. Yeah, we got giant 250-pound athletes that can get going about 25 to 30 miles an hour on skates, and they just smash into you. And Josh and I both played on various amateur levels. Low amateur levels, both of us, but we liked it.
So much fun.
It hurts a lot when people run into you. It freaking hurts.
Oh yeah,
but it's a lot of fun.
my back is still screwed up just from probably being 12 years old and getting wrecked a little too much. Yeah,
So I started learning to play goal just so I wouldn't get my head caved in so much.
that makes sense.
And it turned out I was a lot better at that than playing defense anyway. But yeah, the World Cup. It's going on. Russia. Today is Thursday. This is when we normally record. I know we typically release on the weekends. But today was the opening day of the World Cup. Russia beat Saudi Arabia 5-0, which in soccer is like a 17-0 ass whooping. That's a lot. I was watching it in the dentist office while Heather was getting her teeth destroyed, and yeah, I just couldn't really get into it. The announcers were going ape shit. Like when there'd be a goal, I was like, hey, goal, cool. I kind of saw that goal coming for the previous 20 seconds. I could see the play forming up. But when they were just in midfield and like kicking it back and forth, the announcers are freaking going nuts. And they're like, oh, God, this is so great. I'm like, what's happening? This is the equivalent of just like the pitcher rubbing the ball on his belt. I'm like, nothing is happening right now. Somebody's going to have to explain it to me. And even after you explain it to me, there's an excellent chance I don't get it.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're just not culture savvy.
No.
We're just not worldly enough.
I'm not.
And like you know,
I mean, I know why soccer is so popular all over the world because if I was a kid and I lived in like the rural Argentina where, I live on a farm and I'm poor. What can I do? Well, I got a ball or something I can use as a ball. And now all I need is like 4 rocks to set up as corners for a goal, and me and my friends can play soccer. It's enormously popular. It's the same reason why basketball is incredibly popular in the inner cities, where there's no big areas where you can't play baseball in the inner cities. You can't play ice hockey because it's all concrete and streets and stuff. But there's half-court basketball in most parks, so basketball gets really popular because that's what's there for you to play. So I get it. I get that. That wasn't my area. That's not what I grew up playing, and I don't understand the game, and it seems hella boring. So, sorry. So there's no U.S. team for me to root for. The only thing I get to root for is against Spain, because my friend Ryan that I mentioned, his in-laws are, his father-in-law is from Spain, and his father-in-law is like a big pain in Ryan's butt, so we get a kick out of rooting against Spain and for somebody else. So. That'll be my only rooting interest. The next World Cup will be played on the surface of the sun in Qatar, where it's like 120 freaking degrees. They're going to play soccer. Every player is going to die of heat stroke, and all the fans drinking in the stands are going to die. And that's all like metaphorical joking about people dying. In actuality, it's the people that are building the stadiums right now, essentially migrant workers who are being held as quasi-slaves who are dying building these stadiums because Sepp Blatter had to get a whole bunch of bribe money to award the World Cup to FIFA. Yeah.
That's...
FIFA is like a criminal organization, the ones that run the World Cup.
Seems like it.
But the World Cup after that is going to be here in the U.S., and also in Mexico and Canada. So I guess all of North America is the host.
So then where's it going to be?
Well, it's not like the Olympics where it's all in one city. The host country puts stadiums all over the country.
Oh,
like in Russia, there's like a dozen venues. They can play a ton of games all at once. And then you travel all over the country to play in the tournament. And to do the whole World Cup, it's like 65 or 75 games or something like that for the round robin pool play, and then the bracketed tournament that you graduate out of the pools into the tournament proper. So it takes a lot of games, and that's why you need stadiums all over. So I think like 50 or so of the games are going to be in the U.S. and a bunch more in Mexico and Canada.
See, I'm learning stuff. Because I thought, there's probably just like one stadium, and then if you spend, $1,000 on airfare to go and get a hotel for a couple weeks, and you go to your game for 90 minutes, and then you could stay for other games, but why would you want to? Because it's boring, and then you don't have anything else for the rest of the day to do. And why is this a sport? This sounds terrible, but that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, you'd be royally screwed. You'd have to be pretty flush with cash to travel around and see too many games in a host country, especially a country the size of Russia, or like the entirety of North America, where it's going to be in 2026. Qatar wouldn't be as bad because the country's not that big, except that it's like 120 damn degrees, and they're going to play it like, instead of doing it in the summer like it traditionally has always been, so that the players don't croak, they're going to do it in like November and December. Which also screws with every single one of the leagues. Like, there's dozens of soccer leagues, and teams graduate up and down this ladder of leagues, like Champions and Premier and all that stuff. And all of these leagues are going to have to shut down for a couple weeks to reaccommodate so that the World Cup can happen, because the World Cup's just too important. So they're all pissed. But, yeah, maybe the U.S. will qualify next time. I'll be into it a little more, but we'll see in 4 years.
Oh, jeez, dog. Hi, dog.
Josh's dog just walked into frame. It's a lovely dog.
She's a good girl.
Jesus, sweetie. I've never actually met the dog. Josh always comes down here. This is where his family is. I've never gone up there.
Yeah, we got to get you up here sometime.
That'd be fun. I'm going to do it in the summer. It is 100 degrees here tomorrow.
Oh, geez.
So I'm hoping it's somewhat less up north.
Yeah. Summers are nice
Ooh.
for the most part.
Let's see what else we got. Oh, Chick-fil-A's back in the news. Because did you know Chick-fil-A hates gay people?
What? I thought they just hate.
Yeah, I mean they don't hate
They
gay
don't.
people.
No.
It's I guess a few years ago when before gay marriage was legal, Chick-fil-A's owners and founders are Christians, and not like fundamentalist Christians, but relatively conservative Christians. And they didn't want their business to basically recognize gay marriage. And they were like, we love our employees and all that, but the definition of marriage is a man and a woman, the traditional religious argument. And that got them in some hot water, but they didn't change their policy. They didn't care. They're like, well, we believe what we want to believe. You can eat our chicken or not eat our chicken. Deal with it.
Right.
That's an admirable stance to take, no matter what your business is. Like if you're a baker who doesn't want to bake a cake for gay people, it's your labor and your business. Go ahead and not bake it for them. And if you go out of business, you go out of business. And like the coffee shop owner, this was in Seattle, I want to say a couple of years ago. His coffee shop owner freaked out on some Christians who were handing out anti-abortion flyers and kicked them out of his shop and was like really, really mean and rude to him, screaming and yelling at him. But if that's how you want to run your business, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
I'm sure church groups aren't going to go for coffee to your coffee shop after church on Sunday. And the LGBT folks aren't going to have their wedding cakes made at your wedding cake place, as long as you're not openly discriminating. There is I'm getting kind of off topic here, but there's also a shop in Kentucky, I want to say. It's either Kentucky or Tennessee. That it's a hardware store, and after the decision on the gay wedding cake came out last week, this guy put a sign in his window that said "No gays allowed," and people are freaking out at him. And yes, that's hateful and terrible, and I condemn that. But if there is a shop owner like here in Shiloh that just hates gay people and is really hateful at heart and mean and wants to discriminate against folks, I encourage you to put a sign in your window that says like "No gays" or "No blacks" or whatever, so that I'll know not to shop at your shop either.
Exactly.
Go ahead and advertise your hate so that your business can fail.
Yep. Let's let capitalism work in that instance and put it out of business.
Yeah, and if more people start showing up because you hate gay people, then we got a problem. But I have a little more faith in humans than that left in me. That you're not going to get a swell of business because you won't allow gay people in your shop. I don't think that's how that works. Not even in Kentucky or Tennessee. They're very very even-minded people down there for the most part. We let the loud ones have too much platform. Anyway, getting back from that.
And there's also, loud, like the outrage, especially in Chick-fil-A is it's like this is still going on, and the outrage is loud on like Twitter. But I drive by Chick-fil-A all the time. I'm like my way to home to work, and that place is always busy. Clearly.
Well, because the chicken is good and the customer service is like excellent. They're really nice to you there.
Yeah.
In fact, the customer service is so good that it's like creepy.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to say thank you. They're supposed to say "my pleasure," which I find to be a really weird, like creepy. It's like freaks the hell out of me when people say that. But that's like their script. It's with "my pleasure." Ooh,
My pleasure.
Ooh. I don't want to contribute to your pleasure. You're making it sound like that. You're freaking me out. But this whole thing jumped into the news again because Jack, the CEO of Twitter, posted a picture of a receipt that he had gotten from Chick-fil-A after buying lunch there. And the whole reason he posted the picture of the receipt is because he was promoting some app. It's like Apple Pay or one of those others, an app you can use on your phone to pay for stuff. And he was promoting that because Twitter's got a deal with them. So he was promoting like, hey, see, I conveniently paid for my lunch with this. And then somebody said, like, hey, Jack, you really shouldn't be going to Chick-fil-A during Pride Month considering their background. Okay. They were in favor of traditional marriage. And then when the Supreme Court made their decision saying that everybody is allowed to get married, which I agree with, by the way, Chick-fil-A is like, okay, that's the law of the land now. We'll pay your, your benefits and treat you like married people, and we're going to continue to treat you with kindness, and we'll serve anybody. And I guess their stance was no hard feelings. We believe what we believe, and we still love you, or whatever. But people want to ascribe hate where there isn't actually any, and they say that Chick-fil-A is hateful. If they were so hateful, why were they giving out free food to the first responders and medics down at the Pulse nightclub massacre?
Right.
After this LGBT terrible, awful massacre that everyone should condemn happened down in Miami, Chick-fil-A's on the scene like, hey, cops and firefighters and EMTs and families of victims and people who are here stuck in this awfulness, here's some chicken. And people are like, oh, thanks for the chicken. Because your average gay person is just like, well, I don't agree with your stance on marriage, but then again, you're a company that sells chicken. And that's that's only the stance of the couple people who own it. It's not like everybody that works at Chick-fil-A is a raging homophobe that hates you. I think most people are intellectually honest enough that they can separate that, including every gay person that I have ever asked about the issue. Which, to be fair, is only about 4 because I don't know that many gay people, but I asked them all about it, and they're like, man, whatever. I like their chicken. They weren't like being mean to me. They don't care. Most people don't care. We only care because outrage addiction. But exactly. Jack, the CEO of Twitter, after he's called out on that, he has to apologize. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about this." Well, that's the part of this story that bothers me. The guy apologized when he didn't do anything wrong, and also Jack on Twitter, that a-hole can't be bothered to respond when like Dana Lash is getting death threats against her children because she's a spokesperson for the NRA. Those reports get turned into Twitter, and there's like, nah, whatever, it's just trolls. No big deal. Yeah, maybe we'll block a couple of, Twitter egg, no profile picture having folks, but we probably won't. It's not a big deal. But as soon as somebody's like, hey, you ate at a restaurant where the owners don't maybe like gay people, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That was not woke of me. I got to virtue signal my ass off. I despise the term virtue signaling. I think it's so stupid, but this is an excellent example of it. He's like, oh, man, I got to go out and do a whole media campaign about how much I love gay people because I accidentally ate some chicken. Well, I ate some Chick-fil-A the other day, and guess what? I haven't used any homophobic slurs, and I still don't hate gay people because just chicken, for God's sake.
In fact, I might love gay people more after I ate their chicken because after I ate their chicken, I'm in such a good mood. I just love everyone. The world is just a brighter place. Here's what bothers. Okay, but for real, like, here's what bothers me about this. The whole thing is the cave dwelling, bottom feeding troll news outlets. Like, I can't remember which one it was. It was like HuffPo or one of those where it was just recently somebody wrote an article about Chick-fil-A and how eating it is terrible and so oppressive against LGBTs and it was and they basically said it's like, yes, their chicken might be tasty, but would you rather have tasty chicken or equal rights? That's like, porque no los dos.
Yeah, that was the Huffington Post, and the article was called "You can't be pro LGBT if you eat Chick-fil-A," or some nonsense like that. And it's like, well, here's the thing: I understand, I empathize. It is more difficult to be gay than it is to be straight in society today. I get it. Just like it's more difficult to be black than it is to be white, it's more difficult to be a woman than it is to be a man because we're just not there yet. We're not to everybody's mindset treating everybody the same yet. But under the law, you do have equal rights now. You at least got a lot more than you did before. I'm not saying there's not still work to do. I am saying that Chick-fil-A is not trying to take away your right to love whoever you want to love. Just eat the damn chicken, or don't eat the chicken. If it bothers you, don't eat the chicken. But don't tell me I'm a hateful, racist homophobe because I like chicken.
Word.
I mean, I get called a hateful, racist homophobe all the time, and a lot of times I don't even know why. Like, I was just arguing about who my favorite baseball player is, and you called me a racist, bigoted homophobe. It's your white privilege. That's why you don't like Orlando Cepeda. I'm like, okay, well, he was a great pitcher, but he retired 30 years ago. Nope, still the best, racist. Okay.
Oh God.
So yeah, it's don't call me racist just because I like chicken.
Yeah. I mean, you're not people aren't gonna upset me much really if they call me a racist just because it's like, that's some shame I don't have to pick up. Just like whatever. But you mess with my chicken, that's when I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. Like it generally doesn't bother me that much when people are like, "Well, you're just a racist," because I know in my heart that I'm not, and people that know me know that I'm not. So random trolls on the internet, they're like, "Oh, you're a racist piece of crap." Okay. I got a message from a guy the other day telling me how my wife was ugly and I was a has-been and my son was a piece of human garbage. And I was like, well, you don't know any of them. You don't know what my wife looks like. And I am not a has-been. I was a flash in the pan. That is a different phenomenon.
totally different thing.
You idiot. One-hit wonders and has-beens are not the same thing. I fully recognize what I was.
That's a good point.
Anyway, Chick-fil-A.
Man, we're talking about fast food here, and I'm surprised. I'm looking at the notes. We're not talking about the most controversial topic of this week is IHOP. Like, why aren't we talking about IHOP?
I didn't put it in the notes. I did mention it on my Twitter feed at KenBone18, which if you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm amazed that you found this show. But that is my Twitter handle. Josh is at Hoonerific. You can check him out also. But I did mention it on Twitter that I was really glad that somebody finally stepped into the fast casual dining space to offer burgers because there was no outlet where I could get one before. So IHOP is filling that gap. So stupid. A really naked marketing ploy, but it worked because everybody's talking about it. They're talking about it on the damn Today Show. They're talking about it on every radio show. We're talking about it on this show. I mean, all 300 people that listen to this show probably knew about it already, but yeah, they're getting all kinds of free advertising now because they did something monumentally stupid. Now, I have been to IHOP dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I've never even considered ordering a hamburger. You can also get like pot roast there. I'm never going to order the damn pot roast at IHOP. Right. They don't even make that good of pancakes. It's work on what you got before you move on.
Yeah, they got plenty of advertising about it. The only reason why I mention it because I think the only thing that's really funny about this story is just the Twitter savagery from other restaurants like Burger King and Wendy's. But do you really think it's gonna like increase their business because people are gonna go IHOP? Oh, that's dumb. Everyone's talking about it. But is it really gonna evoke people to actually drive to IHOP and get a burger?
No, I don't think it is. I think all you're going to get is people who are, 35 or 40 and younger, like in our demographic, down to like the high school age, are going to be driving with their friends or loved ones past the IHOP and go, oh, yeah, remember that stupid thing they did? Anyway, let's go to Denny's. Let's go somewhere else because IHOP kind of blows. Heather actually likes IHOP a lot. I don't understand why. I guess because she comes from a town of like 83 people that IHOP probably seemed fancy when she was a kid. Now she has nostalgic memories of it.
Sure. I think I have. I mean, remember the one in Granite? I mean, I have some nostalgic memories of that one because you could stay there late and get some
they wouldn't kick you out.
Cheap pancakes. Yeah.
It
closed down.
We were the classic town that had 2 Denny's. Like, we're not that big of a city,
right.
But we had 2 Denny's, and one of them sucked, and you'd get botulism if you went there, but we still had them both. So I'm like, let's not go to that Denny's. Let's go to the other Denny's.
Yeah.
They only got 1 Denny's now, I think. I think the other one also closed down. Yeah.
Oh, that one Denny's that you're talking about, I remember I went there late at night, and they weren't staffed because it was late, but it was right after a Family Values concert. It went nuts where like it was packed full where everyone just eventually started just like going back in the kitchen and grabbing food, like all these different derelicts of society were like, we're not getting served. We're just going to go help ourselves with some pie.
I'm going to go make my own eggs.
It was great. This like black leather clad dude with, piercings came by and was like, hey, what can I get for you, sir? And I was like, I'll take some pie. He's like, coming right up. And she went behind the kitchen, got me a pie. It was great.
Oh, man. Yeah, I would go there sometimes, too, just because they wouldn't kick you out at 2 a.m. But There wasn't a whole
Yeah.
lot other than that appealed
That's
about
about
it.
it. Yep, that's about it.
Other than that, I mostly patronized the local restaurants where we were employed, like the Ponderosa or Ponderosa. What, they have about 8, 10 locations. They weren't like a big national thing, were they?
No, I think they were. Hey, baby. Maybe just came
I
home.
remember Ponderosa and Bonanza were like, you'd confuse them. You wouldn't know which one was which.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
I mean, I know they were up here, up north, and I don't know. I think they were kind of, sort of everywhere. But
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know they were all over the place. But it. I worked for.
I mean, they all tanked.
Yeah, I worked for Ravenelli's.
Oh yeah.
I think there's 4 of them. I worked at the original one back in Granite City, home of broasted chicken, which is just deep fried chicken in a pressure cooker, so that the grease gets pushed all the way down to the freaking bone and kills you. It's good though.
So good. It was good.
It's real good. Yeah, I worked there. My friend Andy Ravenelli, his father or his grandfather started the joint, and so we all got jobs there when it reopened. I remember when we went to reopen it. It had gone out of business for a while in his grandfather's day, and then his father and business partners opened it back up. We went to go like overhaul the joint and remodel it and open it back up, and we're pressure washing the floor at like the diner counter where they would sell pies and desserts next to the kitchen. And one of the tiles flew up and smashed out this like $3,000 plate glass window.
Jeez.
And the 5 of us that were back there washing the floor, we just like dropped all our tools and walked away like, that wasn't us.
That doesn't happen.
Let's go find a brick and put it on the inside to make it look like some stupid kid did it. We were all terrified. We're all like 17 years old.
Yeah, $3,000 was expensive.
Oh yeah.
You read on the brick like, go away suckers. Love Ponderosa or something.
Yeah.
You know?
We don't take
Restaurant
kindly to
wars.
your kind around here. Yeah, Ravenelli's was mostly an Italian joint, so they were probably going to take a hit from like Fazoli's Real Italian real fast or something like that. Just a really stale breadstick instead of a brick hurled through the window. Oh, yeah. Okay. Move on.
Where
I
we
guess.
at?
Well, we only got one more item on the notes before we get to the big picture story. It's Einstein. Some more of his private diaries got published this week, and it turns out Einstein was a racist. And that's not hyperbole. Like when I said Chick-fil-A hates gay people. Like no, Einstein like for real was a racist and hated Chinese people and lots of kind of nasty stuff. It was a different time. He lived in the turn of the 19th to the 20th centuries. And there was no illusions that he was a great dude before. Like he cheated on his wife all the time. He was a well-known philanderer. But I only grabbed onto this story because I thought it was a really good example of how you can be a dickbag of a person and yet also have good ideas. So
Sure.
try to look at ideas separate from people. Your political thoughts and your ideas are not intrinsic to who you are. That you can be an a-hole and come up with something great, or you can be an awesome person and never have a worthwhile thought in your whole freaking life.
Right.
Both of those things are possible.
I want to segue here and just say that my wife flashed me to try to get me like thrown off my game. That's right. I just said you flashed me, and this is being recorded.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Love you, baby.
I love you too now, even more than I did before. I couldn't see it through the camera.
You get 50,000 likes, and maybe that.
Josh is so excited he knocked over his microphone. So do not doubt for a second that this story is true. It's not editing this out.
Yep.
We don't edit nothing out. Anyway, our big story tonight, our big picture story. I want to talk about some bad stuff that Trump has done, both recently and going back to the beginning of the administration. So there's bad stuff recently, like his snubs at the G7. He showed up late to the women's equal rights summit and meeting, just like a dick. Just walked in the middle of it. It was pretty. At first, I was like, "Oh, that's not that bad. He's busy. He's the president." But then when I watched the footage, I'm like, "Oh, he totally did that on purpose, just to be a jackass." He definitely did that just to get under the skin of the other heads of state. He makes comments like, I'm threatening to cut off all trade with all other nations. You're not the emperor. You don't get to
Right.
just, you can't tell every company in the country, like, oh, yeah, you can't sell or buy stuff from other countries anymore. You can't do that. In fact, just the tariffs that you're already doing are a massive overreach of presidential power. All trade regulation should be going through Congress. Let's see. He wants Russia back into the G7. Why? I don't know.
Why?
If like he keeps saying there's no collusion with Russia, there's no collusion with Russia, but we know for sure Russia screwed with our election. We know that. That's the evidence is on the table. The Mueller investigation is not about whether Russia screwed with the election. It's about whether the Trump campaign had anything to do with it, whether they were, working together. But what we know is that the crime happened. Now we're trying to figure out if the Trump campaign provided an inside, lane to the Russians. So we know that they screwed with our democratic process. We know that they just march into places like Ukraine and take over big pieces of them because they can. So they have imperialist ambitions. We know that Putin murders his political enemies because he's a big bag of dicks. We know that their behavior is awful and that they back a lot of our biggest enemies in the Middle East. They're an enemy to peace all over the world. And yet Trump's like, hey, we should let him back into the G7 and make it the G8 again. Why? There's no good reason. There's no good reason to let them back to the table.
Right.
So that's just stupid, President Trump. That is dumb. There's the praising Kim Jong-un, which we've already talked about a little bit, telling him how talented he is and presumably how handsome and how he's much taller and how he's sorry he called him a little rocket man or whatever. That's not really a great thing on the international stage to be saying that kind of stuff to a tin pot dictator. And then there's the issue like the kids getting separated from parents at the border. Now, I know that is not a Trump administration rule. That is the letter of the law. But the GOP actually started drafting legislation today to change that law. Holy crap, Congress might actually do something about a stupid injustice that's happening. But Trump is definitely not doing anything to slow that down. He's not trying to mitigate it. He's steering right into it. There was the travel ban, which was dumb and ineffectual. There's the wall, which is going to be a giant boondoggle that wastes billions of dollars and impacts nothing but the environment and the economy and does nothing to curb illegal immigration. There's just example after example after example of stupid or dumb or bad stuff that Trump has done, and yet the second part of this big story is he's gonna win again. He's going to. If nothing changes, if the election were today, he'd win again, going away.
Right.
And here's why. Because of things like Bill Maher this week on his show. And I have been on Bill Maher's show. I've spoken to Bill Maher, and he seemed like a reasonable person, a smart guy. We know he's a smart guy. He can be a dickhead, but he's also a smart guy. He says, bring on the recession. He's rooting for an economic downturn because that will convince people not to vote for Trump. That'll get rid of Trump. The quote was, bring on the recession. I'm sorry if it hurts people, but you get to either choose your economy or your democracy. Well, that's just a campaign ad for Trump now.
Right.
That is the left, or whatever you want to call it, saying, you know what? I'm a multi-millionaire, and it won't matter to me if the economy turns down because I still got a big giant house and 12 cars and a boat and a private jet and all that shit. But I hope all of you in rural Pennsylvania and Ohio and in the Rust Belt areas that actually swung the election last time, I hope you guys get pumped up the ass again and lose your houses this time, because maybe that'll learn you. No, it won't. It'll play right back into Trump's hands. It'll be Trump being like, oh, see, the Democrats did that to you. I did my best to stop him. He's a marketing genius. You can say that Trump is stupid all you want, but believe that at your own peril. Like, you can believe that he's stupid, but you're fooling yourself. Is he very good at being president? Well, not really, so far, based on what I've seen. But is he stupid? No. He's a marketing genius. He's made bad business decision after bad business decision for his entire career, and yet he's still got like $2 billion because he's incredible at marketing. He puts his name on stuff, and people buy it. And this time what he put his name on was the election, and people bought it. Okay? So you can't keep throwing stuff at him. Like Robert De Niro when you go on the Tony Awards and you say, fuck Trump. That's the quote. That's your argument. It's fuck Trump. That's another campaign ad. Trump could just run that. And the thunderous applause and the reaction that he got from the crowd at the Tonys, people just going nuts. Oh, you're so brave. You're so great, Robbie De Niro. We freaking love you. That's a Trump campaign ad. That's something for him to play all over economically downtrodden areas in the middle of the country that are considered flyover space by the cultural elite. And whether the cultural elite actually believe that or not is irrelevant, because that's the perception. And perception in politics is everything. So all he has to do now is play that like, look how much these people hate me and how much they get off on just hatred. Not about policy, but just hating me. And look how much better the economy is and how much more of you have jobs now that I'm in charge. Vote for me again. And they will. And he'll win again because we threw it at him. When you throw out things like the Gorilla Channel stupidity from about 6 months ago, that fake story that people wanted to believe because they thought it was funny, or the stupid water bottle thing from last week.
Oh, yeah.
The more of that crap you throw out, the more Trump gets to say fake news, and the more it energizes his base. Now, Bill Maher, Robert De Niro, Nancy Pelosi, when you're saying, like, when you're downplaying the jobs report and saying it's not actually important, all three of you try to wrap your head around this. Who do you think that energizes more? Do you think that's going to push more Democrats to the polls, or do you think it's going to push more Republicans to the polls? I guarantee you it's Republicans, because getting pissed drives you to the polls way, way, way more than thinking you're right. So the whole culture, all of pop culture right now is Donald Trump sucks. It dominates American pop culture. It's Donald Trump's an idiot and he sucks and he spray tans and his parents changed his name. It's actually supposed to be Drumpf, like that's some great crime to Americanize your name. All of that crap, all of that pop culture hatred against Trump will guarantee his reelection if you don't put something substantive up against him. We already tried playing hate versus hate, and guess what? Trump's way better at marketing hate. Way better. And if you just keep telling all the Republican voters and all the Trump supporters from this election cycle, keep telling them how stupid they are, they're going to go right back to the polls, and they're going to bring their kids with them. They're going to bring their brother-in-law, and they're going to bus old people from the old folks' home. They're going to bring everybody to come vote for Trump again. Especially if you put like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or somebody up against him, somebody super progressive, so that now not just all the super Trumpers who are pissed because you're calling them an idiot, but now all the moderates like me have to look at it and be like, do I choose the most progressive person ever? Do I vote for Trump again? Well, I don't want to do either of those things because I think they both suck. That's the boat I was in last time. I didn't like Hillary Clinton because I think she sucks. And I didn't like Donald Trump because he sucks. That's why I was undecided. That's what the media wanted to call it. It wasn't because I liked them both so much I couldn't pick. It's because I thought they both stunk.
Right.
And then you got more news.
Undecided.
Then you got more news stories coming out, like the Office of the Inspector General just today for the Department of Justice put out a report saying like, hey, you know what? Turns out James Comey did act improperly in the Hillary Clinton email probe, and he probably shouldn't have said what he said about how he wouldn't recommend prosecution, because that wasn't for him to decide. And the investigation looks like it might have been tainted. And Lisa Page and Peter Strizzy in the hizzy.
Strizzle Hill.
The Strizzle Dizzle. It turns out they were actually working against Trump before the election, even more than we thought. The quote from Peter Strzok in that text message, the one that we saw months ago when this first came out with his girlfriend or whatever you want to call them, Lisa Page, was Donald Trump's not really going to be president, is he? And then we didn't get to see the response. Well, the response was this was hidden until the report came out today. And I'm looking at the quote here, making sure I get it exactly right. She said, "No, it doesn't want to load." Oh my lord, no!
Net neutrality, darn you!
Net neutrality. Anyway, what Peter Strzok said was, "No, he won't. We won't let it, or we won't let him, or we'll stop him." That's another Trump campaign ad. He can just play that. He can just put those words up on a screen, and people will show up to vote for him because they're like, "Wow, the FBI really was against him," and the whole FBI was not against Donald Trump. The whole FBI was doing what the FBI does in trying to stop criminals. 6 or 8 people were against Donald Trump, and they're idiots, and they tried to hide it, but then they also recorded it on official channels instead of talking about it in person. Stupid. And now it looks like the whole FBI is anti-Trump, so that's all the ammunition he needs for his stupid deep state argument. Like the whole government's against him. It just blows my mind how much we do this. The guy that's running for governor as a Democrat here in Illinois, his name's J.B. Pritzker, and he runs ads on Hulu. So if you live in Illinois and you watch anything on Hulu, you see his campaign ads about 5 times an hour. It's incredible how many ads he's bought. He's a billionaire and was born a billionaire. So, that really sets him apart from elite super rich Donald Trump. I don't know how. But for the first 6 months that he was running ads, he didn't even have his name in the ad. He just had his face. He would come up on the screen and he would say, "Donald Trump is not fit to be president." Like, okay, are you running for president? No, you're running for governor of Illinois. You're running for governor, damn it. You're not running for president against Trump. And then you see all kinds of Democratic Congress people saying things like, "Oh, we'll fight Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not fit to be president." Well, guess what? Congress sucks too, or governors suck too. Maybe let's focus on the actual race and on the issues. I have no idea what J.B. Pritzker's platform is. Despite the fact that I see 10 of his ads every day, I only know one of his accomplishments, that he helped do a school breakfast program for poor kids in Illinois, and I know 0 of his stances on policy other than he hates Donald Trump. That's it.
And especially in Illinois, you would think that the fine people of Illinois would want to elect a governor that has a solid platform, because that state has been in trouble for a bit economically. So maybe a good, maybe a plan.
Illinois is a garbage fire.
I don't like Trump.
Illinois is out of money. The property taxes in Illinois are outrageous. The property taxes on my house are about $5,000 a year. And it's a nice house. I like it here. It's not a palace. It's a upper to middle class suburban house. It's valued at $192,000. I pay $5,000 a year in property tax. That's too much. And then I also pay state income tax. And still, the state's out of money. So out of money that if you win the lottery in Illinois, they don't give you the money. They give you an IOU. That's
really sad.
That's not very much damn money. When you win the lottery and they're like, "Whoops, sorry, we sold you a lottery ticket." If you went to a casino and you hit all 7s on the slot machine, and then the pit boss came out and he's like, "Hey, we don't actually have the money," somebody at that casino is going to jail, because that's like super illegal. You can't do that. The house cannot provide bets it can't cover unless the house is the state of Illinois, because it's out of money. 3 of our last 5 governors are in prison. That is not a joke. That is not hyperbole. 3 out of the last 5 governors are in prison. Well, one of them I don't think is in prison because he's dead. But 3 of the last 5 governors went to prison. That's unbelievable.
Prison.
It seems impossible. It's from like a gangster video game or something. And yet we're still running on the platform of, "I hate Donald Trump." Well, guess what? You're running for governor of Illinois, which contains Chicago, so none of the other votes downstate actually matter. Everybody in Chicago hates Donald Trump already. It's a given that you hate Donald Trump. Say something else. The guy you're running against is probably going to hate Donald Trump too, unless Bruce Rauner runs again. He doesn't hate Donald Trump. It's just stupid and ridiculous, and it just throws support to Trump. It just gives stuff away to Trump. We're doing exactly the same thing that we did in the last election. We're taking a billionaire real estate mogul who is also now the president, which makes him the most powerful single human being on the face of the earth, and somehow we're making him the underdog in this Rocky movie remake from hell. We're making all the odds are stacked against him, and he works for the everyman. He's not the everyman. He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire. He's never, ever, ever had to worry about how he was going to pay for lunch tomorrow. There's been plenty of times in my life and in many Americans' lives when it's been like, I hope I find enough dimes under the couch today, or I'm going to run out of gas on the way to work. Oh, right. Shit. What am I going to do? I got $7 till Thursday, and we don't have any baby formula. That's never happened to Donald Trump, okay?
Right.
But those are the people that he markets to, and we let him. And we give him all the ammunition he needs to continue doing it. So if you don't want Donald Trump to be president, stop it. And if you do want Donald Trump to be president, stay the course. You're doing it. You're making it happen.
Yeah. You're fine. Yeah.
Ridiculous and stupid.
J.B. Pritzker for governor of Illinois.
Oh yeah,
because he's loaded. I mean, you may as well.
He's
may
rich
as
and
well
he
be
hates
your
Trump.
slogan.
Well, and Rod Blagojevich, our last governor, Rod Blagojevich, one of the ones who is in prison. He's in prison because he tried to sell Barack Obama's Senate seat. After Barack Obama got elected president, Barack Obama had been a senator from Illinois. When you vacate a Senate seat, the governor just gets to name a replacement for you. It used to be the governors got to just name all senators. There wasn't even elections before an amendment to the Constitution. But now that's only when you have to replace a senator. The governor gets to appoint one to finish out the term. There is a recording that the opposing campaign plays on TV all the time of J.B. Pritzker calling Rod Blagojevich on the phone, and it's recorded because Rod Blagojevich was wiretapped through a warrant. And J.B. Pritzker is asking, basically, how much would it cost to get that Senate seat? How much we talking here? I'm interested.
Wow.
And this is the guy that won the Democrat primary because he hates Donald Trump so friggin' much. That's just a free campaign ad for Trump. Trump could just take Democrat campaign ads and buy time on Fox News and replay them, and he'd win. He wouldn't even have to spend the money to make his own. He only needs to buy the time to play them.
Man, that's...
It's incredible to me. I just don't understand. I don't understand how we don't see how Donald Trump won. Because it seems so obvious how he won. He rode this wave of ridiculousness into office, and instead of changing tactics, now the left is doubling down on that ridiculousness. It's just making it easier for him to win.
What I don't understand is when you call those people the whole narrative of, well, if you voted for Trump, you're a racist. That's not going to like convince anyone. No. There's been probably 0% of voters that has gone, oh, you know what? I see it now. Maybe I did vote for him because I'm a little bit racist. No, it's just going to make them dig their heels in harder.
Well, you've seen for the last 6 months or so, or the last 18 months really since the election, anytime Donald Trump does something terrible and there's like a discussion about it online, somebody will make the snide comment, but Hillary's emails, they were so terrible, so I had to vote for them. Trying to make it out as if everybody who voted for Trump was worried about Hillary's emails and how, oh, that's a non-issue. Turned out there was nothing wrong. Well, in that same Inspector General report that came out today, they reported that, oh, yeah, by the way, Hillary's emails totally did get hacked by a foreign power.
Right.
There was access by another country, almost certainly Russia, to those State Department emails that she improperly set up. So it turns out it wasn't a big nothing after all. So that just feeds even more gasoline onto the Trump fire. how many people voted for each side? It was like 69 million for Hillary and 67.5 for Trump, something like that. I would guess that of that 67 million people, there's about 15 million rah MAGA hat wearing super Trumpers, and there's about 60 million. Oh man, I don't like Hillary. She sucks. I've hated her since she was the first lady. Yeah, I guess I'll vote for Trump because at least on paper, he has the same values as me, even though he's a garbage human being.
Right.
That's the vast majority. So they're like, well, it's the lesser of two evils to me because I have a conservative worldview. Not, oh man, I hate brown people too. That's
right.
That is so few. And when you say like, oh, that's the whole lot of them, then all 69 million people that voted for Trump are like, oh, you're going to call me a racist just because of my political beliefs? Well, watch this. Hold my beer, fucker.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe the crazy people I vote for. Now bring Roy Moore back. I'll show you.
Don't make me more of this.
Don't make me vote for Roy Moore. Seriously, please don't make me. It would be awful. But yeah, if you want to beat Donald Trump, and I know that a lot of people do, stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Start talking about issues, and you'll beat him every time because he can't talk about issues. All he can talk about is hyperbole. He's an excellent marketer, and you give him clips to play, he's gonna win. And that's all I have to say about that, Lieutenant Dan. That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Yeah. And so,
all right.
Yeah, a lot of state primaries are over. If your state primary is still coming up, please get out and register to vote. There is probably still time. If you missed your state primary, please get out and register to vote. The general election is sooner than you think. It is already the middle of June. The general election is coming up in November. It is a critically important election. You basically get to decide whether Trump gets to roll his agenda through for the next 2 years or whether to vote the opposition back in for 2 years. It will make a massive, massive difference in this congressional election. And based on the generic ballot, it is pretty much neck and neck. The Democrats have given away a huge lead. The Democrats are the Atlanta Falcons of politics right now. They've just given away a massive lead. So if you want them to take power back, they need your help getting it back. So get out and register to vote. And if you love President Trump, get out and register to vote anyway. I just want everybody to get out and register to vote. So please do that now. There's hundreds of places you can do it. Check online. Go to jokesforvotes.com, and they will direct you to where you can get registered no matter what state you are in. And they'll take care of you. But that's pretty much all we got for you this week. A whole bunch more anger and ridiculousness about the news to come next week. But for now, thanks for listening or watching The Bone Zone. Alongside my good buddy Josh Burkett, I am Ken Bone, and I approve that sweater.